Welcome to Every Game, where I play every game by a developer. Today I'm checking out a horror dev by the name of Mike Klubnika. I was first introduced to their games in 2023 when I played through Unsorted Horror, a collection of 5 short horror games that revolve around detailed machinery and dread. Most of you probably know Mike from Buckshot Roulette or the recently released s.p.l.i.t, but really all these games deserve some more love. And every single one, aside from those two, are completely free to play. Diving into this very on-theme website with fun spinning icons, we learn that, with a knack for sci-fi horror, Mike has spent the majority of their free time developing horror games that take place in alternate dystopias, attempting to immerse the player in handcrafted industrial environments through detailed mechanics and visual storytelling. They've also created quite a few soundtracks for their games over the years, which you'll be able to enjoy throughout this video. So thank you for all the love and support on these developer deep dives, and let's begin, shall we? The entire human race is at risk due to misunderstood negotiations with an alien species. A space shuttle called the MM-2002 was hastily constructed, loaded with a 20,000 gigaton bomb, and sent to infiltrate the aliens' base of operations. That's where things begin in system upkeep. But first, coffee. Beans, filters, water, and bam. I've never seen coffee that looks like this before though. Now I know the instructions are typed out right there on the screen, but it did take me a while to figure out how to actually drink the coffee. Time to get to work. This ship needs fuel, which just so happens to be in a neat little pile over here. Shovel, shovel, shovel. To get more, we just need to load up the grabber and wait for the beep. Again, took me a good few minutes to realize that I needed to be very quick and push the button immediately after I heard it. And speed is gonna be a running theme for this game. We've got a good supply of fuel going, so the last step is to set up our navigation system to get us going in the right direction, all while keeping both our ship's fuel and our body's fuel topped up. Easier said than done. Here's my general pace in the game, and this is Mike's gameplay footage. A little bit faster, as you can see. Guess I was never cut out for space travel after all. Still, system upkeep sets a great foundation for this type of gameplay mechanics to expect from the rest of these titles, managing machinery and doing little tasks over and over as the stakes rise. So let's see what's next. You were driving home late one night. Nearby deforestation has revealed an uncanny cave. Authorities have yet to block the entrance, so you decide to take a look. What could go wrong? Curiosity killed the explorer. And that's a slightly concerning title considering the fact that I am currently exploring. My matches seem to go out every 10 seconds or so, leaving me in complete darkness until I can get one to light again. Extremely simple premise, yet very effective at creating tension. See, I told you. A locked door, a key, and... Now, should I really spoil the ending of this game for everyone watching? Yes, I think I will. Mike has participated in quite a few game jams with a couple other developers. The first submission, called Lab Run, was made in under 72 hours in collaboration with Martin293. So this one is kind of scary in a different way. Everyone's running around like chickens with their heads cut off, and you have to deliver this very important mixture to your supervisors without incident. Things go exactly as you would expect. But slowly I started to learn how to predict my coworkers' movements, observe the fixed paths on which they ran, and made it closer and closer to my final destination. Okay, but that's it. I'm done. That was close enough. The goal of the game for the entity is to print $120,000 by midnight. To do this, you have to figure out how each of these machines operates, try not to mess anything up, and ignore all the shadowy figures standing around just watching you. This is the first game that really screams Mike Klubnika, all the gray machinery, little to no direction for the player, and the sense that something really bad might happen if you mess up. Printing money requires paper, which comes from logs that need to be ground up. Then we need to load in the ink and cut the bills. Pretty straightforward stuff that any common criminal should know. Where I struggled was the actual picking things up part. I don't know if that's supposed to be part of the experience, but a lot of objects just got stuck in weird places, and I thought it was over when I couldn't pick up the briefcase off the ground. Resilient as I am though, I just kept on clicking until it finally worked and I could complete another job well done. A really cool concept that will definitely be expanded upon in later games. I think the added touch of having a crowd of people just watching from the blackness really makes the whole thing. Being the center of attention in an uncomfortable situation like this is extremely unnerving, and I hope these people bought themselves something nice with their shiny new cash. BioBlaster is a space FPS where you play as a bioship pilot who's been tasked with protecting a giant space beast from hostile contagions. It's another game jam project created over the course of the weekend with like 4 other people, and it's very disorienting. There's really not much to it, you just kind of fly around and shoot, but I do think the creepy, fleshy atmosphere of wherever you are does set a nice tone, along with the design of the cockpit with a tangle of wires connected to it. As we've already seen and will continue to see more of, Mike really likes tangles of wires. Outcast is simply described as a short game about bad friends and bad decisions. Looks like we're all going for a swim. All you do in the game is spam click the left mouse button in order to keep paddling until eventually your body just gives up. I don't know if it's actually possible to make it across. I tried a few times to no avail, but then I decided to just hang out on the beach for a little while instead. Mike is so good at crafting these very specific moods in their games, usually leaving most of the details to the imagination, but giving us just enough to go off of to build up this sense of uneasiness. But if you never do end up heading out for a swim, this one is kind of just beautiful. Well, it looks like it's just about time for a TV break. Oh, wait, it looks like this is our next game. Film MORBID is another game jam project, and this time we're tasked with escaping a small dark room featuring a mysterious projector. All the clues you need are placed throughout this bizarre short film, which is really more like a looping channel surfing type deal. A dozen or so different programs with some pretty obvious, but also pretty cool codes and puzzles thrown in there. This is the type of thing that just makes me want more rooms, more hidden items, more TV to watch. Film MORBID was made in 10 days by 3 people for the Black and White Game Jam, and I'm just now realizing it was the same crew who put together the shooty space game BioBlaster. But I guess let's see what's next. The signal grows stronger. It's here, I can feel it. The core. Core is one of those sneaky, hidey monster type horror games, which really aren't my cup of tea. I like to be able to fight back, you know? However, I didn't realize that it was one of those games at first, so this guy really got me. Who, by the way, looks a lot like the dealer from Buckshot Roulette. Coincidence? I think not. Yeah, so then I immediately got stuck at this part. I couldn't run fast enough to escape, and it turns out I just needed to close each door behind me as I passed through, which ultimately doesn't stop the monster, but it does buy you a bit more time. The next part has some tables to hide under as the monster taps on by. Ew. There are a couple key cards that need to be picked up in order to progress, a bunch of doors also with buttons, and one final monster section for good measure. Not my kind of thing, and I don't really think it's Mike's thing either, because in the description for their next game, they made sure to put, Infineural is a short horror game that doesn't rely on jump scares or monsters to shock the player, but instead on the concept of time dilation. Already a much more intriguing premise, and then I read, remember, 1 minute on Earth is 10 years in the warp drive, so make sure you drink that coffee. It makes you forget. Drinking coffee in system upkeep was vital and gave us the energy to keep our ship running, and drinking coffee in Infineural is also vital, but in a different way. You'll see. The game starts off as a bus is dropping me off in front of this place called Infineural Innovative AI Solutions. Sounds like a great place to be. I immediately spot the coffee machine and brew myself a cup of joe, but right as I'm about to drink it, I find this note on the table. If you find yourself not remembering the contents of the test after it's finished, do not be alarmed. This is a side effect of the beverage. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna enter this warp drive thing fully cognizant. This is a little bit scary though. Questions remaining, 9 million. Then I proceed to answer a bunch of stupid theoretical questions. You're driving home late one night when you notice an uncanny cave. Wait a minute, this sounds just like the premise for Curiosity Killed the Explorer. Hope I don't end up the same as that guy, you know? I don't have to answer all 9 million questions, only about 10, but I am glad to finally see this screen. I step back into my little elevator and see the full scale of these Infineural tests. Very creepy. I'm free to leave now, but first I head over to talk to this person by the water. Apparently I'm not doing so hot, having just spent, 50 years in the warp drive, even though only a few minutes have passed here on Earth. And I got the bad ending. Shucks. Of course I had to see what the other options were, like what if I drank the coffee? Turns out if you do drink the coffee, your game is very short. You don't remember the test, so you just go on your merry way, become rich, and retire, but in the back of your mind, you always wonder what happened for those couple minutes of your life that you can't remember. Funny enough, the next game is actually called Remember. A quick game jam project about running backwards to escape from a kinda goofy entity and defending yourself using your surroundings. Usually if you're running from a monster in a game, you can't see it because, well, it's behind you. Here you're forced to stare this thing right in the eyes as you fumble around trying to pick up crates and turn corners backwards. And if you make it to the end, you better remember what number you were shown at the beginning. I don't know why you have to do this, but it did add to the stakes, and I did forget it a few times, which adds to the replay value, or whatever. Play the tapes. Find out how you got here. Everything is interlinked. Don't you remember? There we go again with the word remember. This is Unsorted VHS, a quite spooky game about sorting through a box of tapes and uncovering the mystery of this cabin teleportation anomaly. Each tape has a short scene that you can walk around in, and you'll need to kind of hop through them in order to figure out what's going on. There's the Scepter Society, a group of researchers doing tests and experiments. There's a shadowy figure lurking about, this poor fella, and you, somehow at the center of it all, trying to put the pieces together before it's too late. I won't spoil this one for you in case you want to play it yourself, but I do want to point out that it seems to be a turning point in Mike's game dev career. Pretty much all the games so far have been some sort of horror experience, aside from a few random game jams, but they span a pretty big range of subgenres. Escape room, sneaky hidey monster game, basic walking sim, slightly more advanced and puzzly walking sim, and the push buttons / do tasks games that we're about to see a lot more of. As I mentioned earlier, it was around the release of Unsorted Horror that I started following Mike's games in the first place. 5 titles, 1.exe file. Although all but one of them were released individually before being in this collection. They include The Other Side, a game about drilling your way out of a tiny room only to discover the horrors that lay beyond. Control Room Alpha, a super quick one about pulling research samples out of a spider's nest using a crane. Carbon Steel, the longest game in the collection, and my favorite, where you play as a researcher in charge of administering anesthesia to strange organisms. Concrete Tremor, basically Battleship, but instead of boats, you blow up buildings. And Tartarus Engine, a game about hacking into the mainframe, or something like that. I highly recommend checking out this collection. It really feels like the first big step up in terms of game quality and visuals, and goes hard on all the things that make these games Mike's. Tangles of wire, rust and concrete, strange machines. There are also a bunch of callbacks to most of the games that I've already talked about, performing tasks under pressure, having to get something done by midnight, coffee, time dilation, my posture right now, weird, evil companies, big industrial complexes that you only get to explore a teeny tiny part of, and believe me, there's lots more of this type of stuff to come. Now, before we get to the big one, there's one little one that we don't want to skip over. Its theme is Christmas, and the game is Yuletide Machine, part of the 2023 Haunted PS1 Advent Calendar. The mixture of existential dread and comedy here is perfect. Santa's sleigh is powered by some nightmarish engine, and he's gonna need more fuel soon, which leads us to my favorite quote from any of these games.
The elves down at the industrial propellant facility better have some fuel ready before Santa arrives.
So you gotta mix some stuff together and pour it in a big pot, but this time there are lots of little extra goodies and decorations, like the signs posted up around Santa's workshop, the festive curtains, the age-duty sacks that you use to hold your ingredients. I'd love to see more comedy horror games like this, something over the top like Resident Evil 4's goofiness combined with this whole vibe, you know? I just want to start this off by saying, I'm so glad that Mike found success with this game. Seeing it pop up on my feed after it came out and started making its rounds last year had me saying, hey, I knew that dev before they were famous. But seriously, Buckshot Roulette has such a tight scope and really just gets you right down into the nitty-gritty. It's a game of odds and knowing the best order to use your items in order to increase your chances of winning. While you don't get to operate any machinery, there are still plenty of gadgets, and everything feels so impactful. The animations feel heavy, like you really are chugging that beer or pulling that trigger. I'd imagine that the 4-player multiplayer mode is even better and also extremely chaotic, but I still had a great time trying to beat this pesky dealer at his own game and unlock all the achievements. Also, even though you don't get to see much of the place, the nightclub where the game is set looks decrepit and nasty, and I seriously love this style. Hey, wait a minute, is that a coffee mug? Phew, this video sure is a doozy, huh? We are getting to our last few games here, but as we get closer to the present day, they just keep on getting more wild, and that definitely goes for our next entry, Hot Swap Rave. It was a quick jam project to flex the old game dev muscles after all of Buckshot Roulette's success. At his first shift as a DJ at a rusting culture house, our protagonist finds himself in an unprecedented situation, which eventually puts the fate of the entire village on his shoulders. Will he survive this ordeal? I'll admit that the description is a little bit dramatic. The ordeal in question is just switching between songs on records, CDs, and cassettes, all in a timely manner and without missing a beat. Again, I really like the physical feel of all the actions like pressing buttons, opening drawers, etc. I did kind of have a hard time putting some of these items down for some reason, but maybe I was just clicking on the wrong part of the screen. I don't know, weird and cool. How does one even go about describing Fused 240? It's mostly a narrative world-building sort of thing, which is new for this video, and it switches back and forth between short cutscenes and these very odd movement sequences. See, in this world, humans have been fused with vehicles, but you don't just become a car, oh no, you become some sort of abomination, no longer useful as either a person or a machine. Fun fact, the game's description calls it, and I quote, a short computer game about driving around in your vehicle and meeting new people. Where will you go? And so that's exactly what I thought I was getting into. Nope, turns out I was getting into this, and I was surprisingly into it. Fused 240 was a submission to the first ever TFR Game Jam, which Mike helped host, and they developed it along with the help of Rix. The theme? I cannot get out of my car. Definitely a very on-theme game. And its ending? Whew, it got me, man. I need more stuff like this. So, S.p.l.i.t is an interesting one. The first and only game I wasn't able to finish. Not because it's broken or insanely difficult, but because my brain just doesn't work in the right way. S.p.l.i.t is a short narrative-driven horror game with a focus on raw terminal hacking using various commands. And that's where my problem lies. I know that all the commands and everything are shown to you on the screen and you kind of just have to go back and forth to figure out what you need to do, but I kept finding myself referring to a walkthrough video and wasn't having that much fun, so ultimately I decided not to finish it. The story and the presentation, however, are so well done, and based on the VOD that I watched through, it goes to some pretty dark places. In the beginning of the game, I kind of thought it would be a typing style horror game where you type words on the screen like this. And it is a typing style horror game, just one that requires too much critical thinking for me. But hey, I give it a fair shot, and I still think this is a really great experience for the right type of person who either has more patience or knows their way around a command console a little bit better than I do. Now, that was going to be the end of the video until Mike and James Dornan unexpectedly released Crank It like 3 days ago as part of the TFR Game Jam Volume 2. This year, the theme was shovelware horror, so I guess it's time to crank it. Oh, remember when I said I wanted more horror comedy? Yeah, we got that here. For one, there's Gordon, your new favorite coworker.
Ah, you stupid fucking idiot! You almost blinded me! Just kidding. I'm Gordon. I'm getting some incredibly large seismic activity down there. Maybe it's your mom? Huh?
Then the name of the whole game itself. Even the jump scares are, yeah, kind of funny. Except for the first one because I did not see that coming. Overall, a great little multitasking horror game where you have to juggle computer updates and puzzles with fending off these stupid looking creatures and constantly keeping your batteries charged. Hey, wait a minute, is that a coffee mug? Since we reached the very end of the video, I guess I should pick a favorite game, right? Any guesses? It's gotta be Fused 240. I just want to learn more about this strange world, how things got this way, and how we're supposed to get out of this whole mess. So that's why Mike's recent update on the website has me super excited. This is what it says. Now that Crank It is out, it's time for me to move on to the next bigger project. I have a couple designs in mind, one of which I'll be prototyping with a great friend of mine throughout September. In any case, aside from potential split localization, there probably won't be that much news until later this year. Regardless of these new designs though, stay tuned for another Steam release coming out this year. If you liked Fused 240, then let me tell you, you're gonna love this one. Hell yeah, I want some more car-human fusion. Thank you to Mike and all the other collaborators on this wonderfully weird collection of games. I had so much fun playing through them all, and I hope that you enjoyed coming along for the journey.